Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mind Matters and Mischief with me, Dr. Jim Shoopack. I have to apologize, we haven't gotten on at our regular Tuesday time. We had quite the snowstorm out here in the Poconos, and with some challenging issues, if we will, wasn't able to get the episode out on time, so I apologize for that, but pardon me, we are here now. Today's a heavier episode, if you will. It's a tougher episode, so it's one about grief, dealing with the grief of losing a pet, regardless if it's a dog, it's a cat, it could be a lizard, a snake. I mean, in my case, I have lost four cats in my lifetime. I miss them dearly. Sweetie Pie, Cleo, pardon me. Sweetie Pie, Cleo, Zoe, and Duty. And Duty we actually rescued when we found out my grandmother had cancer, and she truly helped me to just navigate that time period of my grandmother having cancer, and then at the same time, when my grandmother passed away, this was, wow, about 19 years ago now that I think of it, but it was 18 years ago. 18 years ago. And regardless, it was close to 20 years ago. And Duty just passed away not too long ago, within the last couple of years. I do miss her greatly. But this is an episode that actually was requested to me. It is heavy. And, I'm here to walk that path along with you because I have lost cats. I've lost a dog. Not the three that I currently have, Snitches, Sadie, and Stewart, but I did lose a dog that I refer to as Saint Sunny, who really helped me to stay alive when I was going through my depression, my first a major depressive disorder, when I had all the symptoms, when I was suicidal, and I didn't know how I felt, had a name. And he essentially took me by his paw and walked me through hell. And as Winston Churchill says, something along the lines of, when you're going through hell, just keep going. And I was blessed to have several people in my life that helped me get through hell, but at the same time, a furry angel that made sure that I stayed on this earth. So I apologize if I break up a little bit. I mean, like a little emotional, because like those of us who have lost animals, who have lost furry angels, you realize that they're more than just a cat, more than just a dog, more than just whatever, a horse. They're part of your posse. They're part of who you are. They're part of how you navigate life every day. I see my dogs and I come home, and really what I see, like every day they come home, they're happy to see me. They eat the same food. We have a very similar routine. I just see their tail wagging. I can picture them in my head, because I'm not doing this particular podcast episode at home. I'm doing it elsewhere, so they're not around, but I picture them in my mind, and it puts a smile on my face thinking of their wackiness, thinking of just them being them just existing, and them providing the joy, the love, the care, the unconditional everything of just being who they are and what they are. And truly, it's one of God's greatest gifts as far as I'm concerned. But today, yes, we are gonna, step away from our usual banter, some of the quirks of the human brain, and talk about something very specific, very heavy, and a profound kind of silence. It's the silence that, yeah, man, it happens. You drop a piece of corn on the floor, and there's no one there to pick it up, to vacuum it up. I used to call some of my cats or dogs a vacuum cleaner, but there's nobody there. It's the silence of a house, and it no longer has, that thwack, thwack, thwack of a tail against a sofa, or a persistent meow. It comes at 3, 4, 5 in the morning, because the food bowl is only 90% full. Sorry, I have to laugh because it's a coping mechanism of mine. Today we're talking about the loss of a pet. It could be a dog, a cat, a bird, a bearded dragon. And these wonderful beings, they really do weave themselves into who we are, into our nervous systems, into the fabric of who we are as individuals. And today we're going to look at why the loss of one of these beautiful gifts from God hurts so much, and how it uniquely impacts us, especially those of us managing mental health challenges. could be depression, it could be anxiety, it could be something else. And most importantly, how we can honor the mischief that they left behind to help the sting fade just a little bit. Just pardon me, guys. This is, like I said, it's a heavier episode, and it's one I do want to give the respect that it deserves. Now, first we're going to talk about something known as the psychology of the bond. Okay, so in order to understand the grief that we feel when a loved animal, passes, we have to understand the bond that we have with that particular pet. Why does losing a golden retriever, in my case it was Sunny, he was about maybe 100 pounds, something like that, or a 10, 15-pound tabby cat, feel, for many of us, more gut-wrenching than losing a distant human relative. And I will say, in my case, I cried, I think, just as much as when Sunny died, our golden retriever who helped me to stay alive during my first bout with major depressive disorder, as when my grandmother, one of my favorite people to ever walk the face of the earth, died. And that's not negating who my grandmother was. It's really demonstrating the love that both of them had for me and that I have for them. It was just an unconditional love. Now, first, there's it's called the witness factor. And we as humans, we're social creatures. In general, we like to socialize, but we're also performers. We are going to act differently at work as we do at the grocery store, or even with our friends. And how about with our pets? Really, with our pets, there is no mask. The mask is off. So it's not like at work where you have to be as professional, what have you. But when with your pets, you don't have to worry about how you act. You can be wacky, those pets, the dog, the cat, and I use those terms to also symbolize a bearded dragon, a horse, a parrot, whatever. But I might just use the word dog or cat, and please know that I don't say that with any disrespect for any other animals. But they're the only creature who see us like in our old sweatpants that we would never wear in public. They see us crying over a really bad day. They may see us singing, or in my case, very badly singing into a wooden spoon, just playing air drums or air guitar. Or maybe they're the ones that I'm having play air drums or air guitar. But when they die, you don't just lose an animal. You're losing like a primary witness to your private life. You're losing really a intimate, like a best friend. Secondly, I want to talk somewhat about biology. In science, they tell us that when we stare into like our dog's eyes or hear our cats purr or meow, our brains will release oxytocin, and that's known as the love hormone. Okay, it's like a feedback loop. So your pet quite literally is a walking, breathing antidepressant. And coming from someone who has suffered from major depressive disorder, I validate that. I validate that, and I will take that to my grave. They truly are. Laughing before, I was laughing at thinking about my dogs. I'm laughing now because I have Stuart, who as soon as I get home, his little tail will start wagging and he'll get up on his hind legs and he'll do this thing. It's like a rally cry of some sort. He's an antidepressant. Like if I'm ever feeling down, and I remember when I was going through my second bout with major depressive disorder after my brother had died, I had the toughest time settling down. I had such anxiety, but all I had to do was touch Sadie, our first rescue dog. She's a Chihuahua Terrier mix. I call her my nurse dog. And what I would do, I'd just touching her and I would just relax. It would just settle me down. It would calm me down. And she's the only the three dogs that could do that for me. But the pet is really a breathing antidepressant. And when they pass, your brain doesn't just feel sad. Like it really does go through a type of chemical withdrawal. And I know when you're dealing with a chemical imbalance, when you're depressed, you do have, it's chemical withdrawal because that antidepressant is no longer there. And finally, there's a thing called a routine rupture because our brains love what's known as a loop. So your brain is hardwired to your schedule of your pet. You wake up, you walk them, you come home, you feed them, you play with them, whatever. They chill with you. But when that loop is broken, your brain keeps firing those signals. Like that's the expectation. Your brain is saying, where is it? But there's no wire to catch them. There's nothing to catch them. And that's why you might think you hear them in the other room. That's why you might find yourself stepping over a dog bed that isn't there anymore. And it's not you that's, being quote unquote crazy, but it's your neural pathways that are trying to find your friend who has passed on. I want to get now into what's known as mental health and the symbolic anchor. We're going to pivot a little bit here, guys, into a deeper layer of mind matters. Now, for someone who's living with a mental illness, like for me, I take antidepressants. Fortunately, that keeps the depression at bay. I go to therapy, weekly therapy. I'm, thank God, in a good place. But that also includes because of my dogs, my family, my loved ones. I surround myself with good people. But regardless if you have depression, generalized anxiety, PTSD, bipolar disorder, a pet is often much more than a companion. They're also what I call a symbolic anchor. So if you struggle with depression, I raise my hand. Although, fortunately, like I said, I'm in a better place, but I still get seasonal affective disorder. Like, I get the winter blahs, we'll call it that way, because I don't do anything in the outside during the winter except for complain. Okay? That dog might be the only reason you get out of bed. You might not feel worth the effort to cook for yourself, but you will get up to ensure that they are fed and they are walked. And I say that because when I was going through depression, I remember laying on my sofa in my parents' bedroom, and what would happen? Sonny would put this is our golden retriever who's passed, he'd put his nose right up to mine, and he would essentially, it wasn't verbalized, obviously, it was never verbalized, but it was insinuated. Sonny would say, pardon me, I need to take you for a walk, meaning him needs to take me for a walk, but I need you, meaning he needs me, to put the leash on him so that we can go outside. So that's just one thing to consider. He was the reason why I got out of bed. And when I went out, I did feel better. He was my antidepressant. He was part of, at least the start of my antidepressant. He got me outside. In just being outside, and being outside will help at least to start to make you feel better. And you're walking, you're getting some of the endorphins going, and that's so important. But you might not feel, again, the effort to cook for yourself, but you will for your dog. You will, like, they provide a structural skeleton, if you will, for a day that might otherwise collapse into lethargy and maybe just collapse into, your depression, and then your anxiety says you should have done something today, and it's a spiral effect. Now, pardon me, for those with PTSD, those people with anxiety, a pet really can serve as what's known as a grounding mechanism. For example, during a flashback or a panic attack, the physical weight of a cat or a dog on your chest, or the wet nose of a dog on your hand, it can serve as a sensory interrupt. So really what it does is it can pull you out of the internal storm and back into the room, back to some sort of normalcy. Now, when the pet dies, like the crisis of symbolic loss here, guys, the person, you, me, anyone out there, isn't just grieving a friend. You're losing the primary coping mechanism. My dogs help me to cope every day. Every single day. I'm the type of guy, when I go to another person's house and the dog notices me, I see no one else. I see that dog. And that dog is my new best friend. Same thing with a cat, but more so with a dog. No disrespect to the people who are there. I'm just telling you, the dog's my best friend at that point in time. So the mischief, though, that kept me tethered to the present when we lose a dog, when we lose a cat, is unfortunately no longer with us. And it can lead to a dangerous spiral where the person feels they've lost their reason to maintain a routine, and worse, it could be like your reason for living. And that's why therapy is so important. Now, if you are listening and you have lost a pet that has functioned as a therapy pet or as your anchor, please hear me. Your grief is not too much. You haven't just lost a pet. You've lost a vital piece of your health care. It is okay to seek extra support. It is. It is okay to tell your therapist or your doctor, my anchor is gone and I am drifting. I know, like, when I see my therapist, and I was talking about my one dog who, like, she's fine, but Sadie, the one we're talking, she has this bulge, and they, like, she's okay, but it's like they say, well, if the intestines tangle, then she could die. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready for that. Like, that's not, she helped to keep me on this earth after my brother died. Like, I will drift. I can guarantee you, I will drift. Like, But that's why it's important to have those other pets, those other animals, and to acknowledge that in advance that, like, okay, this is what I need to do. If this happens, this is what I need to do. Pardon me. But acknowledging that your pet had a symbolic job makes the path to healing more clearer and cleaner. Because really, let's be honest, it does, like, your pets do help you to overcome things in life. My pets have helped me to overcome. And I think we need to understand that. And it's okay to speak to someone about that. It's okay to speak to a therapist. It's okay to talk to your doctor. They will understand. And you know what? If your therapist doesn't understand, for example, you find one that does. There are therapists out there who specialize in pet loss, in grief. So you just have to look sometimes. And that's part of navigating your loss. And you can do it, and you will do it. I want to dive now into something known as rituals and lessening the sting. So, how do we honor these pets that we've lost? How do we move forward without moving on? Because we really never want to forget the mischief. We never really want to forget that pet, because that pet always will be in your heart. Always. And grief in itself, I think we can agree, is a wild animal. You can't tame grief, but you can give it a place to live. And I have a couple ways here, folks, that are ways to honor the bond between you and your furry angel, or your salamander, or your horse, or whoever it happens to be. There's 4 points here. First one is the mischief map. So instead of a traditional obituary, pardon me, I remember Sweetie Pie, one of our cats, and we have a landing upstairs, and I'm sitting on the sofa watching TV, and I think it was Sweetie Pie and Cleo. They're fighting, or something was going on, and then all of a sudden, fortunately, I was on the sofa has basically room for 2. Well, I was on the one side. All of a sudden, I just hear this, and then Sweetie Pie comes over the ledge of the landing, hits the sofa, must have jumped up 6, 7, 8 feet up in the air. I laugh because she was fine, comes back down, goes under the kitchen table. Fortunately, I wasn't sitting where she landed, or she would have landed on my head. But I'm laughing at it, like, she's unfortunately passed away several years ago. But that was one of the mischievous things of Sweetie Pie. Talking about duty. I'll never forget the time we got her. She was a scavenger cat. She was a rescue. And one time I was eating a burger, had a half-eaten burger. And I don't know, I went to the bathroom, I came back, and the burger was gone. And I'm like, I don't know, did I eat the burger? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm not sure. So I called up to my wife, and I go, Shanna, did you eat my burger? She goes, no, I didn't eat my burger. And she's like, where's Duty? Well, remember, we just got the cat. So here we are yelling, Duty, Duty. Who comes running down the steps with a half-eaten burger in her mouth? The dudes. So it's like these little memories like that help you to navigate, because you're still, like, you're honoring their life and the mischief that they provided and the smiles that they provided. A second one, folks, would be a physical anchor. So if you used your pet for grounding, maybe keep a piece of their world near you. Maybe a collar on a bookshelf, or a favorite blanket, something like that. Because when the anxiety does spike, maybe if you touch that item, use that memory of them to continue the work that they started. It doesn't have to end when your furry angel is gone. They can still support you. The third one is the legacy act. One of the best ways, at least I think, to lessen the sting is to outsource the love you gave them. Donate a bag of food to a shelter in their name. Sponsor a senior pet adoption fee. By helping another animal to live a better life, you really are ensuring that your pet's impact on the world didn't stop when their heart did. Like for me, if I hear a friend of mine's pet died, I like to make a donation to a local rescue, with either one that they tell me about, or maybe if they say, well, choose one. And I do, just because I think it's so important that to give support to those people who have lost a loved one. I mean, a loved, as far as a loved pet. And it will help those rescues. And when you do adopt, when you're ready, like with me, for example, when Sonny passed away, I wasn't ready, for another dog, what have you. I remember we ran into Snitches, the one of the dogs we have now. And, my wife loved him and picked him up, and he was so stinking cute. Oh, he still is. He knows it, though. And I was like, Shannon, I can't. I'm not ready. And then I realized, I thought of it over the weekend. And I said, you know what? I have all this love for a dog and no dog to give it to. So I remember texting her saying, you know what? If he is still there, let's get Snitches. We already had a name picked out. Okay? That was the name that they gave him. That was a name that I gave, Shannon, my wife, and I gave. So we did take, and grief does travel different ways, and it's okay to lean into that grief. It is okay to come to an understanding that, you know what, maybe you are ready, maybe you're not ready, and that's okay. And remember, if you do rescue another pet, that's not dishonoring the pet that you've lost. When you do that, when you rescue a pet, you're taking that new pet to honor the one that you've lost, but you're also giving space to a new pet to take the one that you've rescued in that rescue. So you're basically rescuing partly two pets for the one that you've unfortunately lost. And it's just something important to realize. And you can I'm thinking in Spanish. You can volunteer at a rescue in honor of that pet. Who knows? Your next pet might wind up choosing you, and in fact, that's, I think, often how it happens. Now, my last thing here, folks, is a living memorial. Plant something. It could be a tree, a flower, a bush, whatever, and watch it grow and change. And it just reminds us that life truly is a cycle, and beauty can grow even from the hardest ground. So just some things I do want you to consider. Honor your feelings. Honor your loved one who has passed. There is no shame if you need to get therapy. Trust me, those pets love you unconditionally. They do. And you go home and they just cheer you up by being them. At least mine do. And even Stitches, who could be cranky pants. I love that dog. I mean, trust me, I don't even like talking about it, but when he goes, I'm going to be inconsolable for a while. And that's why it's important to enjoy every moment you have with that animal. Or even, just to stray off that a little bit with a loved one, a human, especially as they're getting older. Enjoy the time with that person. But coming back to the dogs, enjoy the time you have with your pets. They're not always going to be there. You are that pet's whole world. I know they're only part of yours, and it's true, because you got to put food on the table for them, for yourself. But the important thing is realize that, yeah, they do need you. They do need you. And there's so many different ways that you can honor that pet. Even if you say, you know what, I just want to make a donation right now, and when I feel up to it, then I'll consider it. Now, to close, as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to leave you with a thought. The price of great love is great grief. I'm going to read that again. The price of great love is great grief. And it's a bill that we will all eventually have to pay. But if you asked anybody standing in the middle of that pain if they would trade the years of companionship to avoid the heartbreak, the answer is usually, almost always, no. The mischief always stays with us. The lessons they taught us about being present, about the importance of a nap, the importance of unconditional love, the importance of just being in the present. Those are yours to keep forever. So, if you're sitting in a quiet house today, I am sending you strength. Please take a deep breath. Drink some water. Your anchor may be gone, but you are learning how to swim. Just remember, and I know it's easier for me to say this now, but when you are ready, please consider the adopt, don't shop move. The only thing wrong with a rescue pet is they have been let down by a human. The beauty of rescuing is that you and that pet that you rescue, right, can overcome trauma together. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. You can overcome that trauma that you each have suffered together. And the goal in life, at least me for my rescues, is I want to love my rescue so much that they forgot about the person that ever put them up, in the rescue. And my wife and I think we do a pretty darn good job of it Because my friends say that we spoil our dogs, and I say they are fairly compensated for the services they provide because they provide something unconditional love. And honestly, if it weren't for the dogs that I had in my life, and even the cats, I wouldn't be having this show. I would be 6 feet underground. There's no doubt in my mind. So God sent down some dogs for me, some beautiful cats, some wonderful people, and now I'm blessed to be able to have this show. On that note, folks, next week we're going to hopefully talk some about how dogs and cats and other furry family members can help us to overcome mental health and mental illness and stuff like that, and how they can help us. And I've kind of talked on that a little bit, but on that note, guys, please remember I care about you. I love you guys. There's a reason why I do this show, and it's because I want you to know that there's hope out there. Eventually, we're going to start to honor some of our pets that have passed on. And in fact, if you want to send me, you could even do it now. If you want to send me a mischievous thing that your cat, dog, whatever your pet is, has done, do me a favor. Send it to DRJIMSHOOP as in Peter, ACK, @gmail.com. So again, J as in Jim, I as in Indiana, M as in Miami, S as in Sam, H as in helicopter, O as in octopus, O as in October, P as in Peter, A as in alphabet, C as in Columbia, and K as in kangaroo, no spaces at all, @gmail.com. Do me a favor, send me, and if you're so kind enough to send me a picture of your loved one as well, I would appreciate it, because eventually on the website I would like to do something where we showcase some of our angels that have left this world. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you guys. I love you very much, and just remember that your life is worth living, and I'll talk to you soon.